Hey crew, it's Pitt, and I'm back with some more ancient lore. Today we're going to be diving back into the Kybalion. This is the work put together by the three initiates to help us to better understand what reality is and how it functions. We will be talking about mentalism and the One. Oh, those topics have been covered in other places, in other playlists, and it is in extensive detail if you're wanting to check those out. It's highly recommended that you begin at least with the 8 laws of creation because anything that is being discussed in any of these Kybalion videos really needs to be filtered through the 8 laws of creation before you attempt them for reasons that will be made apparent in this video. With all of that being said, welcome and let's dive in and hopefully bring a little bit of enlightenment and not too much confusion.
Chapter 3 Mental Transmutation.
Mind, as well as metals and elements, may be transmuted from state to state, degree to degree, condition to condition, pole to pole, vibration to vibration. True hermetic transmutation is a mental art.
The Kybalion. As we have stated, the Hermeticists were the original alchemists, astrologers, and psychologists, Hermes having been the founder of these schools of thought. From astrology has grown modern astronomy. From alchemy has grown modern chemistry. From the mystic psychology has grown the modern psychology of the schools. But it must not be supposed that the ancients were ignorant of that which the modern schools suppose to be their exclusive and special property. The records engraved on the stones of ancient Egypt show conclusively that the ancients had a full, comprehensive knowledge of astronomy, the very building of the pyramids showing the connection between their design and the study of astronomical science. Nor were they ignorant of chemistry, for the fragments of the ancient writings show that they were acquainted with the chemical properties of things. In fact, the ancient theories regarding physics are slowly being verified by the latest discoveries of modern science, notably those relating to the constitution of matter. Nor must it be supposed that they were ignorant of the so-called modern discoveries in psychology. On the contrary, the Egyptians were especially skilled in the science of psychology, particularly in the branches that the modern schools ignore, but which, nevertheless, are being uncovered under the name of psychic science, which is perplexing the psychologists of today and making them reluctantly admit that there may be something in it after all. The truth is that beneath the material chemistry, astronomy, and psychology, that is, the psychology in its phase of brain action, the ancients possessed a knowledge of transcendental astronomy, called astrology, of transcendental chemistry, called alchemy, of transcendental psychology, called mystic psychology. They possessed the inner knowledge as well as the outer knowledge, the latter alone being possessed by modern scientists. Among the many secret branches of knowledge possessed by the Hermetists was that known as mental transmutation, which forms the subject matter of this lesson. Transmutation is a term usually employed to designate the ancient art of the transmutation of metals, particularly of the base metals into gold. The word transmute means to change from one nature, form, or substance into another, to transform. And accordingly, mental transmutation means the art of changing and transforming mental states, forms, and conditions into others. So you may see that mental transmutation is the art of mental chemistry, if you like the term, a form of mystic psychology. But this means far more than appears on the surface. Transmutation, alchemy, or chemistry on the mental plane is important enough in its effects, to be sure, and if the art stopped there, it would still be one of the most important branches of study known to man. But this is only the beginning. Let us see why. The first of the 7 Hermetic principles is the principle of mentalism, the axiom of which is,
The all is mind, the universe is mental.
Which means that the underlying reality of the universe is mind. and the universe itself is mental, that is, existing in the mind of the All. We shall consider this principle in succeeding lessons, but let us see the effect of the principle if it is assumed to be true. If the universe is mental in its nature, then mental transmutation must be the art of changing the conditions of the universe along the lines of matter, force, and mind. So you see, therefore, that mental transmutation is really the magic of which the ancient writers had so much to say in their mystical works. I don't know why it had a semicolon there, and about which they gave so few practical instructions. If all be mental, then the art which enables one to transmute mental conditions must render the master the controller of material conditions as well as those ordinarily called mental. As a matter of fact, none but advanced mental alchemists have been able to attain the degree of power necessary to control the grosser physical conditions, such as the control of the elements of nature, the production or cessation of tempests, the production and cessation of earthquakes, and other great physical phenomena. But that such men have existed and do exist today is a matter of earnest belief to all advanced occultists of all schools. That the masters exist and have these powers, the best teachers assure their students, having had experiences which justify them in such belief and statements. These masters do not make public exhibitions of their powers, but seek exclusion from the crowds of men, in order to better work their way along the path of attainment. We mention their existence at this point merely to call your attention to the fact that their power is entirely mental and operates along the lines of the higher mental transmutation under the Hermetic principle of mentalism.
The universe is mental, the Kybalion.
Both students of Hermetists have lesser degree than masters, the initiates and teachers, are able to freely work along the mental plane in mental transmutation. In fact, all that we call psychic phenomena, mental influence, mental science, new thought phenomena, etc., operates along the same general lines. For there is but one principle involved, no matter by what name the phenomena be called. The student and practitioner of mental transmutation works along the mental plane, transmuting mental conditions, states, etc., into others, according to various formulas, more or less efficacious. The various treatments, affirmations, denials, etc., of the schools of mental science are but formulas, often quite imperfect and unscientific, of the Hermetic art. The majority of modern practitioners are quite ignorant compared to the ancient masters, for they lack the fundamental knowledge upon which the work is based. Not only may the mental states, etc., of oneself be changed or transmuted by Hermetic methods, but the states of others may be, and are, constantly transmuted in the same way, usually unconsciously, but often consciously by understanding the laws and principles, in cases where the people affected are not informed of the principles of self-protection. And more than this, as many students and practitioners of modern mental science know, every material condition, depending upon the minds of other people, may be changed or transmuted in accordance with the earnest desire, will, and treatments of persons desiring changed conditions of life. The public are so generally informed regarding these things at present that we do not deem it necessary to mention the same at length, our purpose at this point being merely to show the Hermetic principle and art underlying all these various forms of practice, good and evil. For the force can be used in opposite directions according to the Hermetic principles of polarity.
In this little book we shall state the basic principles of mental transmutation, that all who read may grasp the underlying principles and thus possess the master key that will unlock the many doors of the principle of polarity. We shall now proceed to a we shall now proceed to a consideration of the first of the seven Hermetic principles, the principle of mentalism, in which is explained the truth that the all is mind, the universe is mental. In the words of the Kybalion, we ask the close attention and careful study of this great principle on the part of our students, for it really is the basic principle of the whole Hermetic philosophy and of the Hermetic art of mental transmutation. And if you have made it this far along, then you deserve to be part of the crew that knows things, right? If you are here in this part of the study, then you probably just listened to me read that in my vocal therapy. And praise be to the creator of all, because I did that in my natural voice. As it got a little bit strained toward the end there, but I was able to do it in my natural voice, and I am so beyond blessed for that. I am so very happy. Thank you, Lord. That being said, if you've been around for a while, you know that I am an injured person, right? I have severe problems. I was rear-ended on the interstate in the middle of a storm. What you may not know is that I'm the reason that storm was a thing. That sounds a little bit wild. I understand that. But shortly before then is when I had my Kundalini experience, for a want of a better way to put it, because I was not trying for the Kundalini, right? I didn't know what Kundalini was, but it was the energy release that is associated with that thing. And that's just a good terminology to use. And I was playing, right? And there was a storm in the Gulf. And you may or may not remember back in 2011 when this happened, but the storm was forming. It was becoming a storm, and then it went away, and then it came back. And I don't think it ever made hurricane strength. It was just a tropical storm. And what happened was, as crazy as it sounds, I said, let me see if I can dissipate that storm. And so I did. And it was wild. And I was like, that's wild. And so I said, well, let me see if I can make it come back together. And I did. And we got like a few days worth of rain, but it was the same storm that I wound up hurt in. And that is because I did not even know of the 8 laws of creation, much less was I following them. And so the things that were meant to happen happened. I did not play by the rules, and therefore I was burned by the rules. And so it is very important to ensure that intentionality is part of your practices before you do any of this. And I'm saying this so that you know, right? This is not me beating a drum, talking about, oh, I'm some kind of bro. No, I believe everybody could do this. I do not advise anybody to, right? There is extensive research being done into. I don't know that there are any conclusive anything, because this is going to be a hard one, but there are people doing research into what's called cloud busting. If you are unfamiliar with what cloud busting is, it is where people go out and they stare at a cloud. Right? You pick out this one cloud and you tell everybody this cloud, and then you look at it and you make it go away. And there are people that can do it. Some people are better at it than others. Some people can't do it at all. But a lot of it probably comes down to your determination, will, and the execution of your force. I believe that is possible on both a grander and a lesser scale. I believe that you probably could transmute lead into gold. I don't recommend being in the area when it happens. Right? That would definitely, almost certainly, run afoul of several of the laws of creation to do it, because the intentionality almost cannot be properly aligned. Right? Like I said, it's almost impossible to properly align and do anything that is greed based or anything like that. So it is probable that you can. Now, I have seen some wild things besides what I just talked about. I have seen a guy throw a purple ball of light. I know that sounds crazy, but this happened to me in the military. Right? I had just got out of boot camp. I had not had anything to eat, drink, smoke, or anything of the wild nature for over 3 months. And your boy said, watch this. Like, we were talking about witchcraft because he was a practicing Wiccan. Right? That's going to set off some people, but it is what it is. And this is where I really dug in and started getting interested in things because this dude, we were in the barracks at night. We were at C school or A school. It was the first one. And like we were just chilling and he was talking about it and he said, dude, watch this. And he did like this for a second and then he took and he threw a purple ball at me and it made me laugh. Like it made me laugh. Made me laugh. I wasn't amused. I wasn't happy. Like I wasn't displeased. But like he threw a ball of light from his hands and it hit me in the chest and it made me laugh. And so I believe in some wild things. You don't have to believe that that story is true. I know it's true. Stephen knows it's true. And that's the only two people that will ever know it's true. But I have related to you with all the good faith in the world so that you can understand that when I talk about these things, I really believe them. And I really believe that the consequences of your actions are real things. And so before we get into this next part, right, the universe is mental. Your mind makes a very large difference in your life. You don't have to believe that, but if you go back and watch my power of perception and intention, you can understand what is being put out right here. I said this a while back. Your mentality makes all the difference in your life. If you wake up every single morning and you say today is going to suck, today will suck. But if you say today is going to be great, it's going to be great no matter what life throws your way. That is part of this. It's not all transmuting gold, right? It is not all doing the shadow work. There is happiness involved, but there is a lot of shadow work that has to be done before you can properly apply any of these principles in your life. Okay, next chapter. This is chapter 4, The All. Under and back of the universe of time, space, and change is ever to be found the substantial reality, the fundamental truth.
The Kybalion. Substance means that which underlies all outward manifestations, the essence, the essential reality, the thing in itself, etc. Substantial means actually existing, being the essential element, being real, etc. Reality means the state of being true, of being real, true, enduring, valid, fixed, permanent, actual, etc. Under and behind all outward appearances or manifestations, there must always be a substantial reality. This is the law. Man, considering the universe of which he is a unit, sees nothing but change in matter, forces, and mental states. He sees that nothing really is, but that everything is becoming and changing. Nothing stands still. Everything is being born, growing, dying. The very instant a thing reaches its height, it begins to decline. The law of rhythm is in constant operation. There is no reality, enduring quality, fixity, or substantiality in anything. Nothing is permanent but change. He sees all things evolving from other things and resolving into other things. Constant action and reaction, inflow and outflow, building up and tearing down, creation and destruction, birth, growth, and death. Nothing endures but change. And if he be a thinking man, he realizes that all of these changing things must be but outward appearances or manifestations of some underlying power, some substantial reality. All thinkers in all lands and in all times have assumed the necessity for postulating the existence of this substantial reality. All philosophies worthy of the name have been based upon this thought. Men have given to this substantial reality many names. Some have called it by the term of deity, under many titles. Others have called it the infinite and eternal energy. Others have tried to call it matter. But all have acknowledged its existence. It is self-evident. It needs no argument. In these lessons, we have followed the example of some of the world's greatest thinkers, both ancient and modern, the Hermetic masters, and have called this underlying power the substantial reality, by the Hermetic name of the All, which term we consider the most comprehensive of the many terms applied by man to that which transcends names and terms. We accept and teach the view of the great Hermetic thinkers of all times, as well as of those illumined souls who have reached higher planes of being, both of whom assert that the inner nature of the All is unknowable. This must be so, for naught by the All itself can comprehend its own nature and being. The Hermetists believe and teach that the All in itself is, and must ever be, unknowable. They regard all the theories, guesses, and speculations of the theologians and metaphysicians regarding the inner nature of the All, but as the childish efforts of the mortal minds to grasp the secret of the infinite. Such efforts have always failed and will always fail from the very nature of the task. One pursuing such inquiries travels around and around the labyrinth of thought until he is lost to all sane reasoning, action, or conduct. It is utterly unfitted for the work of life. He is like the squirrel which frantically runs around and around the circling wheel of his cage, traveling ever and yet reaching nowhere. At the end, a prisoner still and standing just where he started.
And still more presumptuous are those who attempt to ascribe to the All the personalities, qualities, properties, characteristics, and attributes of themselves, ascribing to the All the human emotions, feelings, and characteristics, even down to the pettiest qualities of mankind, such as jealousy, susceptibility to flattery and praise, desire for offerings and worship, and all the other survivals from the days of the childhood of the race. Such ideas are not worthy of grown men and women and are rapidly being discarded. I have a Bible study. It's not for everyone. It's open to anyone, but it is not for everyone, and I talk in great detail about this in particular. At this point, it might be proper for me to state that we make a distinction between religion and theology, between physics and metaphysics. Religion, to us, means that the institutional realization of the existence of the All and one's relationship to it, while theology means the attempts of men to ascribe personality, qualities, and characteristics to it, their theories regarding its affairs, will, desires, plans, and designs, and their assumption of the office of middlemen between the All and the people. Philosophy, to us, means the inquiry after knowledge of things knowable and thinkable, while metaphysics means the attempt to carry the inquiry over and beyond the boundaries and into regions unknowable and unthinkable, and with the same tendency as that of theology. And consequently, both religion and philosophy mean, to us, things having root in reality, while theology and metaphysics seem like broken reeds rooted in the quicksands of ignorance, and affording naught but the most insecure support for the mind or soul of man. We do not insist upon our students accepting these definitions. We mention them merely to show our position. At any rate, you shall hear very little about theology and metaphysics in these lessons. But while the essential nature of the All is unknowable, there are certain truths connected with its existence which the human mind finds itself compelled to accept, and an examination of these reports form the proper subject of inquiry, particularly as they agree with the reports of the illumined on higher planes. And to this inquiry we now invite you. That which is the fundamental truth, the substantial reality, is true beyond naming, but the wise men call it the All. In its essence, the All is unknowable, the Kybalion, but the report of reason must be hospitably received, treated with respect, the Kybalion. The human reason, whose reports we must accept so long as we think at all, informs us as follows regarding the All, and that without attempting to remove the veil of the unknowable,
The all must be all that really is. There can be nothing existing outside of the all, else the all would not be the all. The all must be infinite, for there is nothing else to confine, bound, limit, or restrict the all. It must be infinite in time, or eternal. It must have always continuously existed, for there is nothing else to ever have created it. And something can never evolve from nothing. And if it had ever not been, even for a moment, it would not be now. It must continuously exist forever, for there is nothing to destroy it, and it can never not be. Even for a moment, because something can never become nothing. It must be infinite in space. It must be everywhere. For there is no place outside of the all. It cannot be otherwise than continuous in space, without break, cessation, separation, or interruption. For there is nothing to break, separate, or interrupt its continuity, and nothing with which to fill in the gaps. It must be infinite in power, or absolute, for there is nothing to limit, restrict, restrain, confine, disturb, or condition it. It is subject to no other power, for there is no other power. The all must be immutable, or not subject to change in its real nature, for there is nothing to work changes upon it, nothing unto which it could change, nor from which it could have changed. It cannot be added to, nor subtracted from, increased or diminished, nor become greater or lesser in any respect whatsoever. It must have always been, and must always remain, just what it is now, the all. There has never been, is not now, and never will be anything else into which it can change.
The all, being infinite, absolute, eternal, and unchangeable, it must follow that anything finite, changeable, fleeting, and conditioned cannot be the all. And as there is nothing outside of the all, in reality, then any and all such finite things must be as nothing in reality. Now, do not become befogged or frightened. We are not trying to lead you into the Christian Science field under the cover of Hermetic philosophy. There is a reconciliation of this apparently contradictory state of affairs. Be patient, we will reach it in time. We see all around us that which is called matter, which forms the physical foundation for all the forms. It is the all. Is the all merely matter? Not at all. Matter cannot manifest life or mind. And as life or mind are manifested in the universe, the all cannot be matter. For nothing rises higher than its own source. Nothing is ever manifested in an effect that is not the cause. Nothing is evolved as a consequent that was not involved in it as an antecedent. And then modern science informs us that there is really no such thing as matter, that what we call matter is merely interrupted energy or force, that is, energy or force at a low rate of vibration. As a recent writer has said, matter has melted into mystery. Even material science has abandoned the theory of matter and now rests on the basis of energy. Then, is the all mere energy or force? Not energy or force as the materialists use the term, for their energy and force are blind, mechanical things, devoid of life or mind. Life and mind can never evolve from blind energy or force, for the reason given a moment ago. Nothing can rise higher than its source. Nothing is evolved unless it is involved. Nothing manifests in the effect unless it is in the cause. And so, the all cannot be mere energy or force, for if it were, there would be no such thing as life and mind in existence. And we know better than that, for we are alive and using mind to consider this very question. So, who are those who claim the energy or force is everything? What is there then higher than matter or energy that we know to be existent in the universe? Life and mind in all their varying degrees of unfoldment. Then you ask, do you mean to tell us that the all is life and mind? Yes and no is our answer. If you mean life and mind as we poor, petty mortals know them, we say no. The all is not that. But what kind of life and mind do you mean, you ask? The answer is living mind. As far above that which mortals know by these words as life and mind are higher than mechanical forces or matter. Infinite living mind as compared to infinite life and mind. We mean that which the illumined souls mean when they reverently pronounce the word spirit. The all is infinite living mind, and the illumined call it spirit. And so we get to talk about one of my favorite things, right? You have heard this if you have been around here even slightly, but today may be your first day. You may not be aware of how we do things around here, but God is, right? God is all. He is everything. He is me. He is you. He is the space between me and you, and He is the space between me and you. He is everything you can put your hands on and everything that you can't. There is nothing that is not Him within the entire confounds of the universe. And so He is beyond personification, right? I use He because it is the popular vernacular. It is what people are accustomed to hearing, but it could just as easily be she. It could just as easily be no pronoun whatsoever because He is not a person. God is beyond personhood. That is why we are here. Now, are we in the mind of some person sleeping and dreaming somewhere? That is entirely possible. I don't discount it. I don't know. Are we a computer simulation running somewhere? I don't discount it. I don't know. It is entirely possible. What I do know is that God is bigger than anything that I can possibly conceive. I forget which prophet it is that said the thing that I say all the time. I am just a piece of your fingernail, right? I am just a spark inside of you. I am not God ever in myself, but I am a piece of Him. I have been put here with a divine purpose. I have access to divine powers. There are things that the divine intended us to do, and we have groups that keep us from them. The concept that all is, and all is mutable, that the universe is changeable, mutable. There is nothing that you actually see. You don't see me. You see what electrons that are being recorded by my camera and transmitted over electricity to another place where it is transformed from electricity into a different type of electricity that allows you to see my face and to hear my voice. But you don't see me. But you don't actually see anything. You don't see whatever device it is you happen to be watching me on. You're not seeing it. If you walk outside, you don't see the sun. You don't see the trees. You don't see the grass. You don't see the ground. You see the reflection of the light off of those things. You don't see a green tree. What you see is the tree absorbing all of the light except for green. And so you see the reflection of the green coming off of the tree, but the tree is not actually green. It is the opposite color. It is the part that is absorbing, so it is probably more of a red. And so if you can wrap your mind around that concept right there, that is the mentalism. Because it is a functional truth. You don't see anything. You don't see your own hands. Hold your hands up like this. You do not see them. You see the light reflecting off of them. The color that you see is not the actual color that it is. It is the color that is reflected after all the other colors are absorbed by the actual color. Mentalism works the same way. You believe that you see a green tree. You believe that you see a green leaf. And so you do. That is mentalism. That is holding the thought in your mind that this thing is true, even though it isn't, or isn't yet. And therein lies the mechanics of mental alchemy. Because what you do is this. There's a series of books. I often recommend books because every fiction holds the truth. And this series of books is a good one for wrapping your mind around how mentalism actually works. And it is the Chronicles of Amber. You may or may not be familiar with it, but the basic of the storyline is this, and there may or may not be spoilers, but there is a God, and this God has children, and these children are tasked with various things throughout the realities, and they live in this place that is amber. Amber is the pure, perfect place. It is the quintessential of all good, right? Every other step outside of it is a step shadier than good. But these particular children and this God can picture themselves passing between the realities, right? And they get to the reality they want. They picture one thing inside of that reality. And the way that the main character in this particular set of books does is he'll walk down the road and he'll picture, okay, the reality that I want to be in has a yellow dandelion growing next to that mailbox right over there. And then he focuses on that being a real thing until he walks up and the dandelion is next to the mailbox. Now, was it there before? Maybe, maybe not. But he didn't know, and he believed, and he called it into existence. Those are the three things, right? The other part of what is being put into here is the Trinity. And I know a lot of people like Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, and that is a way of explaining it, but it's not the right one. This is going to step on toes, and I'm okay with that because I am a toe stepper, but it is body, soul, and spirit, right? Jesus said, you can blaspheme me. You can say what you want about the body, but don't blaspheme the spirit. That is a real thing. The body is the flesh suit. It is the meat in which you reside. You are the individual piece of God invested in that meat suit. This is your meat suit. This is my meat suit, but you have your own meat suit. And it was given to you to pilot, to make the choices for, to decide to do things, to learn, to grow, to get experiences. And then you have the way that it actually happens. And you don't really have full control over that. You get to ask that for assistance. But the spirit is the becoming. It is the part that happens, right? The body can't do anything. You can make all the decisions you want, but if God is not animating your body, it does you no good. If he is not controlling the breathing and the heart beating and the nerve impulses of the electromagnetism that's holding you together in the same way that it is holding together all the rest of the existence, then you're not there. And so God is the action in action. The spirit is the part that makes it happen. It is the becoming. And you get to ask it for assistance, right? You get to channel it in great degree because when you are moving the energy through your body, it is the spirit that you are actually moving. It is the electromagnetism that holds you together. And it is through the electromagnetism that all of the weird things are possible. It is through the electromagnetism that you can break apart a storm and call it back together. Do not recommend. But it is also that which calls abundance into your life. With the caveat that you're walking into a new timeline. You get your own individual timeline. Everybody does. And your timeline aligns with your greater purpose, right? And so you can choose to walk away from your greater purpose, and you can choose to walk into your greater purpose. We talked about the spiral of choice in great detail in the video yesterday, but as you're making those choices, it changes where your timeline is headed. There are people who come along, and you travel really close together for a while. You're party members. And then sometimes they split off and they go on their own way. Well, anybody who is not actively aligned to your purpose is for you an NPC, a non-player character. They are playing a part in your life, but they are not a part in your life. The clerks at the store, they're not aligned with you. They're serving a purpose. You don't want to try and get them too far out of the script. They have their own timeline. They are their own person on their own timeline, but in your timeline, they are the NPC. The people that you align yourself with, you align your entire timeline with. The spirit is the part that pulls the timeline in. It is the part that accounts for both the good and the bad decisions and makes the plan for the outcome thereof. It is the part that enables the actual doing, but it's not making the choice. The choice is in the soul. It is the individual fragmented part of God that was invested in your meat suit. That is the part that makes the choice. Your meat suit allows you to have the experience at all, but the being, the spirit, and God, they are the part that allows it all to happen. They keep you breathing and your heart pumping. The things that you have no real control over, but you can control. If you're not thinking about it, you breathe normally. You have no problems. Even if you're breathing heavy, you don't have any problems. But if you think about it, you can control your breath. You can stop breathing for a little bit. I wouldn't recommend it for a long period of time, but breath control is an important part of becoming who you want to be. And so I highly recommend breath control. Don't hurt yourself. You can control your heart rate and your blood pressure. It is possible. Even without exerting yourself, you can change your heart rate and your blood pressure. You can control whether you wake up or not. That is a heavy level of responsibility there. I would not recommend playing with that one. All of these things are open to you. You can do them. It is only, however, through the all. Every single thing you do, both whether it is a positive or a negative choice, goes to the all. God is here. God has put you here for the experience, right? In my estimation, in my belief system, in the way that I look at things, you are here for the experience of being here. God cannot be here. He cannot incorporate within himself. We just read a whole chapter on that. God is outside at the same time as being all that is. And so, he can experience pain or loss or grief. We do that for him. And it is not always pleasant to have the experiences. Some experiences are great. Losing your virginity is a wonderful experience for almost everybody. Not everybody, I understand, but for most people, it is a pleasant experience. The first time you have a little bit too much to drink is a pleasant experience if you don't have too much to drink. And so we're meant to have these experiences that God can't, but some of them suck really, really bad. Some of them are pretty horrible, but it is still part of the experience. God can't experience horrible unless you do. But you can learn from it. You can make your decision from that, and that is what life is all about. It's a mental choice. How you look at it, what you choose to learn from it, and what you plan on doing on the backside of it are all mental choices, and the entirety of existence is mental. You don't actually see anything. You don't actually touch anything. Did you know that? Just the same way that you don't actually see anything, you don't actually ever touch anything. There is always a microscopic electronic level of separation between you and anything, even the things that hurt you or burn you. Heat can be transferred through that, but the actual physical thing isn't. So when you touch a hot skillet, you're absorbing the heat from that skillet, but you never physically actually touch that. And that's another hard concept to wrap your mind around, but it is another absolutely true one. You can pick something up and never actually have it rest in your hand. That's a tough one. I understand that, but it is true. There is a microscopic electronic separation that does not allow it to absorb into your hand. It keeps you separate from it, even in heat. That's an interesting concept to wrap your mind around. That's where we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. I'm trying not to get too very long on these, and hopefully I brought a little bit of enlightenment and not too much confusion to a fairly difficult set of topics. I understand that I hold some unconventional beliefs and that I have a tendency to step on toes when I deliver that. It is not intentional, but I do not apologize for it. My entire goal is to shed some knowledge, to break apart the veil, to rip it down, throw it to shreds, because I believe that if we were empowered with the actual knowledge, we would make the correct decisions. I am probably wrong. Most people do not have the discipline for this type of information. That is a truth. Most people do not have the discipline to do the things that I am talking about, and that is the truth. So I don't, I direct other people to the correct way because you should listen. Not because I am going to interfere, but consequences are a very, very real thing coming from playing with these forces. You can play with them. You can. I cannot stop you. But you should be fully prepared to do so before you do so. You don't want to wind up in a situation like the one I got myself into. I promise you that. Hopefully I brought a little bit of enlightenment and not too much confusion. If you like what I'm doing here, let me know down below. Hit me with a like, share, and a sub. Throw me a comment. Let me know you appreciate it. If you really like what I'm doing, hit me with the super thanks. It will be greatly appreciated. To the crew, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every single minute that you are here with me, and I am praying for you every single day. Until next time, I love you. God loves you. You are perfect, whole, and complete, just the way that you are. And this has been Fitt's Take. Peace.